Hello everybody. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've been getting some questions as to how I go about making the cards, so I figured, I have some time right now. So I'm going to make a very quick, or maybe it'll be a little bit longer, Photoshop, basically how I structure everything. Now, if you don't have access to Photoshop, that's fine, because everything I've done, you could do in Paint.net as well. And while I'm significantly less familiar with Paint.net, I do know for a fact that you could do it. And there just requires some more finesse. So here's basically what I have in Photoshop. This is my example of Pontiff. So we see how this is it, and I had a lot of questions. How do I get to this? So recently what I did was on the Discord that I've just recently started, I put up a blank boss card, this exact one, for anyone looking to create content. So this is a JPEG, and my personal one is layered. Layering, I'm going to show you, first of all, how we're going to do layering. I'm going to break that up into the first bit, so how you could start going forward with the materials that I provided. So first thing we want to do is when you're in Photoshop, you're going to pick your select tool. You're going to select, let's say we're going to do, I don't know, down here first. So we're going to select everything that's important. Actually, I do have to say, down here, this part that's not super important because we don't really want any background images going past the letterbox, right? So we'll actually start with the letterbox. So we're going to copy it. I'm sure you know how to do that. We're going to paste it on top, and you're going to see that's layer 1. You can see layer 1. It's exactly where it is. So I'm going to just call this letterbox for the sake of this tutorial so don't get lost. Now everything else, you could, if you really wanted and you were ambitious, you could just do it all at once. Copy it, paste it. You're gonna have that. Alright, this is what you have now. What you gotta do from, oh actually, that's a little short. What we're gonna do going forward from here is we're gonna select the, what is this? Forget what it's called, the quick select tool, and we're actually just gonna take everything of the background out. So one way you can do this is just select everything and you just start chipping at it. Press Alt and you could left click to do this on the fly, or you could go up onto the top left, select the minus after having selected everything. You can always do this in chunks. So it's rather quick, honestly. It picks up on the colors quite fast, or at least it does for me. And then, I mean, you're done really quickly. So I'm not doing the world's, not looking to do the world's best job here, just for sake of demonstration. Okay, so we're gonna, oh, I could get that out. Nope. And this is what we're left with. So when we put it onto our base, the letterbox, it looks fine, right? And when we take this off, we have this here. So for the sake of this video, I decided I'm going to start a new creature, and I decided, someone I'm going to be doing in the near future anyways. I decided to go ahead and start Needle. So this is my personal one. This is my PDF. The only difference is that I have everything done in singles, because I like having that just in case I need to move things around. 9 out of 10 times you don't gotta do that. It's just because I'm weird. If anything, it's more efficient to have it like this. So I'll name this the HUD. So what I did was, before this video, I went and I cleaned up concept art of Needle. For all of my creations, I like, well, I won't even say my creations, but all of the cards that I've made, I like using concept art because it keeps in line with all of the content that's already been out, because all of the enemies, they're using concept art. So to make it look more onto par with everything that exists from the vanilla material, I decided I'm going to use from the same source material. So from here, all I used was I used the quick select and the paint bucket to clear the background behind him, just to this point, and then I just take a big general picture of him. I copy it, and oh, you have to select it. My bad. And you bring it in. So this is where layering is your best friend. You're gonna get the positioning wherever you want this guy to go. So I'm gonna say about here. That looks good. And then we put him behind everything but in front of the background. So then you could still reposition him. I want him about in the middle, but a little raised. So about there. And from here, what we have to do is we have to clean up the letterbox because I did that a little too quick, which is a very easy fix. I'm not going to do a perfectionist level one because, again, this is just for the sake of demonstration. I do intend on, and I've already done it on this one. Again, this one's just for sake of demonstration how to do this. And you just erase any excess that you don't want. So for here, all the way up, here, all the way up, here, all the way up, and then just a little bit for good measure so it doesn't look weird. And one thing that personally I like doing is just going over the edge with the first eraser, so you get a nice little gradient of where it becomes slowly transparent if you look at it like this, and curving out the bottom so it doesn't look too harsh. And then again curving it in towards the heat up icon. So you have a little bit of a lip, and there you go. So that's the very, very basics of how I am stylizing my cards. After that, what we have left to do is fill in the numbers. So again, for sake of demonstration, I'm just going to put in some information. We know his name is Gravelord Nito. Yep. And you want to use a big font for bosses. So you see that now it's too tall. Now he's too tall. Lower him a bit. And then again, just, oh, crap. Oh, oop. Jeez. Let's get rid of that. We're gonna want to, there you go. Gravelord Nito, here he is. We want to have it a slightly higher, like the bottom of the first line, slightly higher than the threat middle. So you have about, I guess, your finger's width when zoomed in between the top of the card and the start of the text. So it's essentially the same right now. I did shrink this one down so we get more of his body. Again, it's just personal preference, whichever one you like. One thing that we do here is that once we select it, we often, well, when I say we, I mean my brother and myself, we change this to smooth. That's just something we do. It makes it look a lot nicer in the long run. And the text that we use is called Optimus Princeps. It's the same font as the Dark Souls font. You could Google it and I'm sure you'll find it really quickly because I know I did. And after this, it's just putting in your information. So for yellow side for defense, we'll say 2. You want to scale it, I think, yeah, usually it's 48 that we go to for bosses. 2 there, and then to get the color that I have for the opposite, I just kind of grab colors from that's already existing on a palette. So usually I grab Heat Up, or I'll go to one of the old cards or grab it from the DS. That much it doesn't really matter, so we'll say 2-2. 2-2 for Nito. So these ones is just kind of move it around till you feel it's comfortable. If you're a perfectionist, you could definitely go back to the original material and check it. One thing that is going to bother you though is that they're not going to be perfectly in the center of each icon because they're different sizes. I mean, that's something that really bothers me. Anyway, for this, it's going to be black in the threat. You could do 10 or 11. All bosses, however, are 10. So you want to usually stick to that. Now, I mean, at this point, you've pretty much made the card. Health, it's white. We're going to say 30. Make it a little bit weaker. I want to bring this one down a bit, so I'm going to say, let's check. 30 is too small, so 36. And keep in mind that if you're finding that these numbers aren't the greatest, you could always scale them down by manually putting in the value. Heat up, we're going to say, let's say 15 again for sake of argument. Make sure that one's black against the white so you could see it. Cards, we're going to say 5. Sometimes that happens if you click and drag. So 5. Oh, no, I said 4. Doesn't really make a difference at this point though. Alright, so at this point you've pretty much made your card. All that's left to do is put in your values for the encounters. Now I'm going to say, Nito, I mean, if you want, you can make him end boss, you can make him a mid boss. I think I've planned on making him an end boss with my friend. So we're going to say 0, and again, we're going to want these big numbers. So again, we go back to black. We'll say 2. We'll say 2. Or I mean, if you want to do differently, you could do differently. I do believe that is how it looks. I'm just going to bring up my pontiff. Yeah, so I was a little high. It's a little high. I'll close this. So you're gonna bring it about there. It's a little offset to the left. Nope, it's perfectly centered, and I messed up twice now. Fantastic tutorial. So you can always press and hold control. I'm sorry, I'm just absolutely speeding through this. Alright, so 0, 2, 2. At this point, we've filled out almost all of the information. The last thing that's left to do is create some dialogue for him. So for this, usually I go to 24 or 18. I'm going to say, is he let's say Gravelord or Master of the Dead. I'm going to say Gravelord because I'm original. This one you want to select align to the left. It makes writing a lot easier. We'll say, just put this is a test. Now for this is the test, the body, we want to make this smaller so we can fit as much as we want in. So we could say this is a test, Nito is cool, draw an extra behavior card on heat up. And that is making Nito. So that's how we make a card. It's pretty simple, and once you start making them a lot more, you get a lot faster at it. Just one of the things is you just want to always keep like a continuity. So if you're cutting out, continuity. So if you're cutting out the side, you don't want to have like a huge highlight on the end. So if you see that, you might want to take that out. Usually you don't want to have pictures all the way to the end. I know I have that on Pontiff, but personally it's just because I like his wings. If anything, I would in fact change that. So again, it's your decision. After all, these are your cards. I encourage you to have fun, create some weird custom content with it, and do what you can. So I hope this was some help. And yeah, so enjoy making cards and have fun with